Hi everyone, how you doing? How my star seeds doing? We're just sort of getting started, and we're just sort of getting ready, waiting for everybody to show up. And I am so excited about this evening. I'm so excited, you know. So, if you are on early and you're joining us right now, as per usual. And I mean, I hate having to ask this, but as per usual, if you can click like, and if you're here as a part of the Star Season Lightworkers Collective, why don't you subscribe as well? It really helps us out. I know it sounds really cheesy and all that, but it really, really helps us when you subscribe and you like and subscribe and you join us. And why not? Because if you are part of the Star Season Lightworkers Collective, why not be a part of the group as well? So you can also join us here on YouTube. And we have quite a few things coming up here on YouTube. And you can also catch some of the streams that we have done recently. And if you haven't had a chance to catch some of the streams we've had, you can do so. And you can looks like we have a bit of low sound. You want to just have clean the sound? Chris is telling us there's a bit of low sound, so maybe we can see how's. Okay, it's better now. He says it's better now. Okay, great. So we just want to make sure that you should join, and also let the analytics know, the YouTube analytics know that you intend to join. So you can also confirm on the Star Season Lightworkers website, and you can also confirm on the YouTube site as well. So it really helps us a lot. As you know, YouTube is really, really picky, and it's not always as forgiving as we like it to be. So it'd be nice if you could just sort of subscribe. And why not? You're not going to get any other spam or anything like that, and you're part of the family, and you're part of what we're doing here. So please subscribe. Please. Also, I had a really interesting meeting about a week ago. Yeah, it's about a week now. And no names mentioned yet. But I think the last time she was here, she was called Metaphysical Mystic. And we'll leave it at that. And she's going to be coming on the show soon and it's going to be doing a presentation with us. So she heard the call. If you have something that you'd like to present and you think that you have something that is of interest to our audience, please feel free to contact me at the Star Season Lightworkers Collective. My name is Crystal. And you can always let me know what you're into and what you're doing. And if it suits what we're doing, then you can be a part of the show. So it's always open to everybody. Please feel free to contact me, drop me a line. And that's great. So this evening, I'm so excited. We have Miss Mary Grace is going to be joining us. And so we're going to be starting soon. So before I do a presentation, I just wanted to say that Mary Grace, I'm so happy that you're here with us tonight. I think we're going to have some really, really interesting interactions with a lot of people. And I know a lot of people are going to be coming in tonight and sharing some of their experiences. And before we get started, that's another thing I wanted to sort of say, hey, Chris, let us know what the numbers are like. Before we get started, if you're here with us, let us know if you've had a paranormal experience. If you've had any kind of paranormal experiences, if you've ever lived in a haunted house, if you've seen a UFO, if you've seen any kind of spirits or orbs or entities, anything that you feel is out of the ordinary and out of the usual scientific matrix 3D world, let us know about it tonight. So just put us a little note in the chat and let us know. If you want, you sort of give us a quick little blurb as to what your experience was. And we can sort of take a little tally and that we can see how many people have had experiences. And I mean, most likely you've had an experience if you're joining us tonight. Even if you haven't, and it's something that you're interested in, please let us know. So just to let you know, guys, this is just like a quick test that we're doing. We always do a little bit of a test because the last couple of A while back we would come online and then we're busy kind of scrambling around, and then you end up having to see us do a test and catch us with our pants down. So this time around, I've decided to do the test ahead of time, and I think we're good though, right, Andy? I think we're kind of how we're doing. Yeah. All right. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's. I think recently, I think it was yesterday, we started Ostara. Ostara is the Wiccan, I think the pagan celebration of spring. So, wanted to wish everybody a good and happy Ostara. And I can't believe that spring is here already. It is so fast. It has gone so fast. I mean, I was just recently coughing and blowing my nose in the winter with a horrible cold, and now here I am in the spring. So I don't know. And I'm wearing my spring finest. I have my little flowers, and I have color in my cheeks. So I'm ready for spring. I'm absolutely ready for spring, and it seems that it's coming very quickly. It's well, we're here in Montreal, and I don't know what's the weather today. Anybody know what the weather is today? How's the weather in New York, Mary Grace? How's the weather there?
Oh, we had sunshine all day. It's chilly. It's 40 degrees, but we'll take the sun whenever we can get it,
Of
that's for sure.
course.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you guys are a little bit further south, so I know it gets a little bit warmer there. I think that
Oh,
it's
yes, and
yeah.
Quebec, yes.
Yeah, it's a
Definitely.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot cooler here. But like again, we still have some snow that's sort of kicking around, but I will take the sun any day. And so we have another 5 minutes, so we can just sort of like hang out here and talk as well. If you just joined us, could you please like and subscribe? Why not subscribe? You know, you're here already. Why not subscribe and become a part of the team, become a part of the family? And again, I put it out there. If you are someone who's a practitioner or someone who is working as a healer or someone who's written a book about any kind of esoteric subjects, please feel free to contact me if you want to do a presentation. That's great. We're looking for people who have experience and people who have who've been at this for a while and can bring with them a wealth of knowledge and understanding into the many topics that we explore. So always feel free to drop me a line. I'm at the Star Seeds and Lightworkers Collective. There's just a group on meetup.com. My name is Crystal, and would love to hear from you. You can also drop me a line in the chat as well. Just let me know what your contact is, and then I can get back in touch with you. But for now, I'll ask you to please like and subscribe to our channel. And if you want, you can also join us on the meetup.com page at the Star Seeds and Lightworkers Collective. And on that page, you can be a part of a community and you can share your thoughts with others, as well as you can get a preview of some of the events that we're going to have coming up. So that's great. So you can always sort of slot that into your calendar and you can know what's coming up and see what we're working on as well. You can also connect. One of the things that's great about the meetup.com page is that you can connect with some of the people that are a part of our community and you can make some new friends and connect that way. So that's always pretty cool. So I think that we're almost there. We have about 2 minutes.
We're
And
going to
then
practice this screen share. Or,
yeah, do you want to just sort of do a little quick screen share so we can see
yeah,
that just before we
yeah,
kind of.
because I want
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Star Seeds and Lightworkers Collective. My name is Crystal, and welcome to our evening this evening. And tonight we will be presenting a evening with Miss Mary Grace. Mary Grace is a spiritual counselor. She's a parapsychologist, and she's also the founder of the Gifts of Grace Ministry, a nonprofit, non-denominational organization. As well, she is the founder and a co-leader of the Finger Lakes UFO and Paranormal Meetup in the western part of New York. She also holds a BA in psychology and sociology from the State of University of New York at Geneseo, where she studied parapsychology. She also provides counseling and educational workshops on the paranormal, spiritual and mystical topics, the near-death experience, and the UFO phenomenon. She is a retired mental health professional, and she's certified student medium from the Plymouth Spiritualist Church in Rochester, New York, and Lilydale, New York. She's a member of the International Association for Near-Death Studies and is a volunteer and facilitator and moderator for their online sharing groups. She has also written 2 books, and I want to just sort of get that for you right now. I'm so sorry I didn't get that before, but I wanted to sort of show you her books. So the first book she has written is called Talking to God and Grandma, and it is the mystics, mediums, and the communication of saints. So if you want to check that book out, that would be great. I think it's a beautiful book. And I think that for those of you who want to get a better understanding of the mystical experience and speaking with those who have passed on, I think this would be a great book. As well, another book that she has written as well. Let's take a look here. I'm still kind of figuring this stuff out here. So her other book is called Breakfast with Bluebirds, and these are inspirational short stories that are written by her, and these are some of her experiences. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Miss Mary Grace. Mary Grace, how are you doing?
Excited to be here, Crystal, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my passion for the paranormal with your Starseed Meetup group, which I've only been a part of for maybe less than 6 months, but I really enjoy the people there. It's a wonderful group.
Yeah, great. Well, we're so happy to have you here with us. And as I pointed out, we have what makes this group very special is that we have a lot of people who are extremely talented, such as yourself. Like, you've done so much. Oh my God. I know when I was looking at your bio, I was like, okay, she's done a lot of things. But when I really looked into it, I said, oh my God, you've had a lot of experiences. Before we get started, can you tell our audience obviously there's an interest, but did you have a particular experience that led you in this direction to study parapsychology and to start a UFO group and to be a spiritualist? What led you in that direction?
Well, from the time I was a child, I grew up in a haunted house.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I always had ghosts were always a part of my life growing up.
Okay.
And living with, I was one of 6 kids. My parents, they loved to play practical jokes in this huge Victorian, what I like to call Addams Family type home. And it was just, I thought it was normal. I thought it was normal to have ghosts in your house. A lot of people had died in the house because it used to be a nursing home of sorts.
Okay.
And also at a very young age, as the age of 7, I was with a family on an outing and we had a UFO experience. So everything started from a very young age. I always had an interest in the paranormal in general.
Okay, wow. So it was a nursing home, and I've heard of this sort of thing happen before, where people, especially people who have lived either in a nursing home or have lived in a funeral home, they have a tendency to see a lot of people and ghosts and stuff like that moving around. Can you tell us what was it like as a child? Like, what did you saw ghosts and they were in and
Well,
out of
it
your
wasn't
room,
it
or
wasn't really a nursing home. It was my grandmother's house
okay?
home, and she used to take in boarders and take care of elderly people in this house. And she did that. It was kind of her job. She did it for the state, and for a lot of people, it just became their last stop.
Okay.
And a lot of them, in an age before handicap accessibility, I think it kind of became their prison of sorts. So,
Okay.
yeah, so a lot of people did die, but some of the common experiences is just laying in bed at night and hearing footsteps going halfway up the stairs and then stopping, water running in the bathroom when everyone's in bed, and my room was below the attic. The attic is what I call the ground zero for the ghosts.
Okay.
And hearing a ping pong, we had a ping pong table in the attic. So hearing the distinct sound of a ping pong ball going back and forth across the table at night when no one was in the attic. So those are just a couple of things. And the
Wow.
serious thing was waking up at night feeling like something was pinning you down. It's
Ooh.
like you're awake and you're like, oh my God, and your eyes are looking, I know I'm awake, but I can't move. And some sort of entity pinning you down. And it not only happened to me, my brothers and sisters, but if you ever had a friend spend the night, they never came back a second time.
Really? It was that bad, eh? Wow. Okay. Never mind. Wow. Um, that's pretty interesting. And a lot of people actually experience that. That's something that a lot of people I know. I actually, to be honest, I experienced that as well. I would wake up and there were times when I would be feel pinned down and I could actually hear people talking. I would hear people talking in the room. And I remember one night saying, I can hear you. And they just stopped. They're like, oh, and they just stopped talking, and it was the weirdest thing. I never heard it from these people again. But that's interesting. That happens a lot, and I think also, especially when you're a young child, children see things very differently than adults. I think that as adults, they sort of start to just sort of disregard a lot of that kind of stuff. But as children, especially growing up, you have a bit more of an insight, and you're not as you don't judge as much, I think, as a child. And I think you're more likely to just be open to that sort of thing. So that's pretty interesting. So I wanted to go back again, and for those of you who are just joining us, can you tell us, if you've had a paranormal experience, just say yes, me, and just give us your name or your nickname, and just say, so I want to sort of get an idea of how many people have had a paranormal experience, because it's interesting how a lot of people don't really talk about it. I'll be at the office and I remember somebody saying, yeah, my son's. People knew back in the day when I was working at Loyola, people knew that I was really into the whole paranormal thing. And I remember one lady coming up to me, she says, can I just take you aside for a minute? I have my son's living in a basement and he's having a lot of weird experiences. Do you know who I could speak to about that? And you'd be surprised. A lot of people are into that. Or some people don't really know what to do, and they should be calling you. They should be calling you. So we'll wait a bit. We'll just see how many people will say yes, they've had a paranormal experience or not. But without further ado, Mary Grace, did you want to start your presentation? And
Sure. Yeah.
just to let people know that we're going to let Mary Grace start her presentation, and I think halfway through you'll we can stop for some questions. But just to let everybody know that to give Mary Grace the honor that she is due, we will let her start with her presentation, and she'll let us know when we can ask some questions. Okay, so take
Thank
it
you,
away, Mary
Crystal.
Grace.
And we've already started because what I like to always get to know my audience, and it's a little different here on YouTube, but I'm going to give you the chance to participate right
Sure.
off the bat. And as Crystal already asked, I like to find out how many viewers have had some sort of a paranormal, supernatural, mystical experience, something they just couldn't explain. And if you just want to go ahead and put that in the chat, a smiley face if you have, a yes or a no, or a sad face if maybe you don't think you've ever had a psychic experience. We like to know both. So,
I know,
yeah.
right? It's weird. We have Ingrid, who has been on the show before, and she talks about her paranormal experiences as well as a UFO experience. So I'm sure we'll be hearing from Ingrid a little later on, but we'll wait for some people as well. We have Ingrid, we have Mercurius who said yes, and a couple of other people. Eternal Student has also said yes. So we have like 3 4 people who have had supernatural experiences, but I'm sure we'll hear some more. So we'll let you start.
Well, yeah, well, I'm sure, like I said, in a group like this, I'm very familiar with, most people have had a paranormal experience. And if this is you, I'm here to say you've come to the right place because it is very normal to have a normal paranormal experience. And I also want to confirm that, yes, I believe you, and no, you're not going crazy because everyone has these experiences. However, society in general does not always accepting or embracing of paranormal experiences because they are afraid. And this is one of the reasons that I like to educate people about paranormal, after death communications, mystical experiences, near death experiences, and UFO and ET contact. And to make people understand, because people fear what they don't know. And once you know and you have knowledge about it, then you don't need to fear it anymore. And then the other question, and I'm just going to assume this most of the time I ask people is, many people, when I ask them how, if you had a paranormal experience, how many people felt afraid to share it with somebody because they thought that people would think they were crazy or they wouldn't be believed. Well, I know for the most part, this is the case. And which is sad, which is another reason I like to educate people, especially when it comes to an after death communication from a loved one on the other side, because that should be something that should be shared and celebrated, not kept quiet and hidden, because it's just a wonderful thing. So the objective here tonight, and I want you to know, again, it's normal to have a paranormal experience, and you'll see me looking over my notes probably a lot, and and we're going to talk about what is the difference between a mystic, a medium, and a muggle. What is a muggle? How are they similar? But more importantly, is where do you fit in all this, and how does this apply to your life? So with that, I'm going to start and cross our fingers and knock on wood, I'm going to start a slide presentation for you to look at. And
That's great. Okay, so we'll wait for your presentation to get started, and then we can get with that as well. So we do have a couple of people that have. So can you see yourself, Mary? I think we can see you.
yeah, but I'm not seeing my full screen.
You know. Oh, okay.
Let me just do the view here. Oh,
You remember that box that we talked about? The little box right
yeah.
there? Yeah, I hope we click on that. And yeah, so we have some people here who have talked about, so Eternal Student, you've had a lot of high strangeness. I love that term, high strangeness. And 5 stars, you've also had numerous experiences as well. So that is also good. Ingrid, I know you. I see you, Ingrid. And you've you've also had some high strangeness as well. So,
I'm sorry, Crystal, I'm not seeing my slides.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to press the little box like last time? That small little box there. We can sort of.
Yeah. Yeah.
You want to press share your screen?
Yeah.
There you
I've
go.
seen the slides now. I'm just not seeing myself. I have this other thing going on.
Okay. But if you press that box like before, I think you'll probably get a better, we can be able to see more of what you're looking at.
Sorry about jumping around here.
No
Sure. Yeah.
worries. Take your time.
Glory.
This
Okay.
is the fun part of being on live, live TV. We have all these adventures.
Okay, now I can see the slides. There's another screen
There
up
you
there.
go. That's the one. That's the one. Perfect.
Is that
Perfect.
good for you?
That's excellent for us. All right.
Okay.
So take it away. Mystics, mediums, and muggles. I love that. Muggles.
Okay. And this is what we're going to talk about, is what is reality today. And I'm going to start by sharing a story, a parable that many of you may be familiar with, and it's called The Six Blind Men and the Elephant. Now, six blind men were asked to describe an elephant by touching different parts of the body. And one blind man touched the leg, and he thought, well, he described the elephant. He said, must be like a pillar. Another blind man touched the tail, and he described the elephant. And he said, it must be like a rope. And another one touched the nose of the elephant and said, well, it's like an elephant is like a tree branch. And another one touched the ear, and he said, well, it's more like a big hand fan. And then one touched the stomach, and he said, it's more like a big wall. And the sixth blind man touched the tusk and said, well, obviously the elephant is like a pipe. So they all started, notice the discrepancies, and they all started arguing with each other and debating as to who was right and who had the truth. And then a wise man comes along and says, well, you're all right. You all touched and described different features of the elephant. But at the same time, nobody saw the whole elephant. They did not know what it looked like. So this parable explains the fact that people tend to understand only a tiny portion of reality. Each claiming that they have the truth, and then we write dogmas and things about religion and saying everyone has the truth and we're the right. But we are, in fact, like the blind men. We are blind to other realities. We may only see the tail or the tusk of reality. And so we are, in fact, the disabled ones. We are the blind men when it comes to other levels of reality. So what is reality? And this is what I call the transcendent reality map. And this explains, and this is my very simplistic view of looking at the universe. We have the universe, and then I broke it down into 3 different levels: physical, metaphysical, and mystical. And each level represents a different level of consciousness or spiritual awareness. And in the physical level is going to be the lowest level of vibration, the lowest level of awareness. And then the metaphysical is going to describe people like mystics that are in the metaphysical level. And then the mystical level is going to be the highest level. So, and on a side note, in my book, Talking to God and Grandma, I actually applied this model to the communion of saints, for those of you who are interested in the Catholic connection, and physical representing and metaphysical, mystical representing earth, purgatory, and heaven. So, but I kind of changed this program from a Catholic presentation to one just for the general public, and more scientific one. So those of you who are practicing Catholics or maybe Catholics in recovery, you may be interested in that in the book.
Okay.
So this is what I call my inverted pyramid model. As you can see, the Muggles are the lowest level of vibration or awareness is at the bottom, and then the mediums, and then the mystics at the top. And there's an increasing level of spiritual awareness and paranormal abilities as we kind of climb the ladder on our spiritual path. So what exactly is a Muggle? Well, I'm sure most people have heard of the term that I borrowed from J.K. Rowling, who wrote all the Harry Potter books. In Harry Potter, Muggles are considered people without wizard powers. So for us, we're going to use the term Muggles to refer to people who do not consciously use their psychic ability. Because as I said before, and we'll say often, we all have psychic ability, but some people use it consciously, and most people don't use it at all. So Muggles are going to refer to those people that are in what I call a dormant state of psychic awareness. You see. And Muggles, it's not a bad thing to be a Muggle. Muggles are very grounded people. They help the physical world function. And Muggles are all walks of life. They help people stay grounded. They help the mediums and the mystics stay grounded and from straying too far into other realities.
Exactly. So maybe sometimes a bit too grounded.
Yes, my husband can attest to that.
Yeah.
Whenever I lose something, I say I left it in another dimension. So Muggles are all walks of life, and they make all the necessities for what we need in the physical world, the manufacturers that make our homes and our cars and everything we need, and then the teachers and the firefighters and police and people that keep us safe. So be proud if you're a Muggle, because you play an important role in the universe. And if you want to learn how to increase your psychic ability and start on the spiritual path to raise your vibration, there's just many ways you can do that through reading books and taking classes like this. So now I'm going to delve into kind of the meat of this program. And so I'm going to talk about 5 principal concepts of reality. And I'm going to ask you to hang in with me for a minute, for a little bit, 2 sides, because this may seem a little confusing at first, but I know you're all very intelligent, smart people, and you will understand it. So we're going to look at 5 principal concepts of reality for each level: physical, metaphysical, mystical. And the first principle we're going to talk about is information. How does one receive information, and depending on the level of reality that they operate in? Do they use all their senses, or do they use their 6th sense as well? Just the 5 senses or 6th sense? We're going to talk about individuality. Depending on what level of reality that you're working in, operating in, how do you see yourself in relationship to other people? You see yourself as separate, or you see yourself as one? We're going to be looking at time in each level of reality and how you perceive time. Is it linear? Is it sequential? Or is it all at once? And then we're going to be looking at space. How does space prevent you from communicating across vast lands, between towns, between other sides of the world? How does space impact you depending on what type of reality you live in? And then we're going to be looking at spiritual gifts, also known as your extrasensory perception, your 6th sense, and your intuition. How much does this play a role in your daily life? Okay, and now we're going to put this to practice in each level of reality. And as if you can see, I put next to physical reality 3D. Many of you are familiar with the fact that humanity is shifting from a 3rd density to 5th density vibration. It can be called density or dimension, but it actually refers to density. And we can also apply these different levels of reality to the different levels of dimension that we are trying to raise and climb up through. And for many people to understand that there are many people all over the planet live in their own reality in different levels of reality. Some people live in 3D, some people live in 4D, some people live in mystical reality. So information for Muggles, people in physical reality, is just based on the 5 physical senses. primarily. If we cannot, for Muggles, if they cannot see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, or touch it, it just simply does not exist. And there's no other question about that. So that's how they gather information about the world they live in. Individuality. Individuality and this level of reality is people see themselves in relationship to others. People see themselves as separate, and I is the principal concept. And the example I like to give of this is pretend that or imagine that you're in a convenience store and you're shopping, and somebody busts in that through the front door with a gun, and they rob the teller, and they shoot her and run out the door with all the money. Now, this is the person that's a very low level of awareness. This is a person that thinks, I didn't hurt anybody, just that one lady, and I got away with it. It didn't affect anybody else. It's not going to affect me. It's not going to affect anybody else. This is the lowest level of awareness. Now, this is a level of awareness where all crimes, violence, and wars take place. You're in that convenience store. All of you would probably agree that you were deeply affected by what happened. You're probably shocked. You might even had some PTSD. What if you knew the clerk very well? You know, on a spiritual level, on a higher level, that we were all connected, and that's why everyone in that store was affected. Okay, and next we're going to look at time. How is time perceived in physical reality or Muggle reality? Time is linear. It's past, present, and future. Now, the example I'd like to give, if you can see this, I'm holding up a DVD, and it just happens to be a Harry Potter DVD. Can you see that okay, Kristen?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, you want to put it a little bit closer so we can, there you go.
Yep, okay, there we go. We got a DVD. Now, on this DVD is the entire movie, the beginning, the middle, and the end. But for the person in physical reality, they have to watch it from the beginning, and then they watch the middle and right straight through the end, because time is past, present, and future. The person in 3D reality cannot know, they're not going to know the end of the movie. They don't know how the movie's going to end. They can't predict the future. So that's how time is in example of time in 3D. Now, space prevents information and exchange. Let's see. Okay.
But that's kind of interesting, though, when you're talking about the DVD, because it's true. A lot of people, and it's funny that you showed that, and I find that it's a really, really good example, because it shows that when you're seeing things from a 3D level, you can only see it one way, you know, and you can't see it any other way. So, I mean, I find that was a very interesting example to show us, actually. Thank you.
You liked it.
Yeah.
So space prevents information and exchange across vast amounts of space. We can only communicate if we have an intermediary device, such as a cell phone or a computer, or we use satellites. We need something to communicate against across space, and that is just a necessary part of life in physical reality. Remember the days we used to write letters? I think the original intermediary device was the Pony Express.
Yeah.
So even just to write a letter, you had to have someone, actually physically take it to the other person. So that's how space is in this level of reality. Now, spiritual gifts in physical reality are not normal. People don't consciously use it on a daily basis, not a part of their life. They may believe in it. And most people, even if they don't consider themselves psychic, most people will probably tell you a story where they had they had a psychic experience, they had an intuitive experience. For example, maybe if a group of friends wanted to go on a road trip and you were asked to go on the road trip with them, but you had a bad feeling about it. You just had a bad feeling that, and you know, something's not right. I don't think I should go. So you stay home. And then later on, you learn that they got in a car accident. So that's just example. So spiritual gifts are not normal, but may pop up from time to time. And also, people of physical reality they may believe in heaven or an afterlife, but they don't have access to or communicate regularly with spiritual beings. Okay, so our next level is metaphysical. And metaphysical reality, jumping ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we not only use our 5 physical senses, but our 6th sense. This may include telepathy, clairvoyance, clairsentient, clairaudience. Many people, especially probably viewers of this, have experienced that. Examples: people with mediumistic abilities may on a daily basis, especially if they give readings, communicate to spirits or loved ones on the other side. David, and at the same time, aliens or non-human intelligence also generally use their 6th sense of telepathy to communicate. And we're going to have more examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just having trouble putting my mouse on my slide here.
Okay.
So as we look at individuality, how do people in the metaphysical reality view themselves in relationship to others? Well, they understand we're all separate, but that's not as important as the whole. There's a we. There's a concept of we. We're all one. And this is the level where the golden rule is applied. Whatever I do unto others, I do to myself. Mm-hmm. Now, if we use our 7-Eleven or convenience store example,
yeah,
a person in metaphysical reality would not even consider robbing a store, but they may go in the store and maybe help someone who is short like me to reach something on the higher shelf. Mm-hmm. Or maybe when they're standing in line, they may offer someone to go ahead of them. It only has a few items. Mm-hmm. So this is a level of, where we're starting to see, because we're all one, you have more kindness. Mm-hmm. And compassion. Mm-hmm. Is paramount. Yeah.
But you know what, just to sort of just jump in here, I remember hearing, actually, because I know we're talking about things at a different level, but sort of getting back to the idea of the whole 3D level, which is interesting, is that I've heard it said before that they did an experiment once where they showed people doing acts of kindness and people looking at that. And similar to what you said, well, if you rob a convenience store, people are going to be affected. They're going to see that, and they're going to have the PTSD and all that. But I think also the opposite is true. And what I've heard is that when people see other people doing acts of kindness, they also get affected by it, but at obviously in the opposite way. And so it's a part of spreading the light, exactly, if you were, and spreading kindness. So even if you don't believe in it, just the fact that you're seeing somebody, like you said, helping somebody get something or off the street, and let's be honest, when you see somebody doing something, you feel good. If I see a man giving a woman the seat on the bus, she's pregnant, or helping a lady with her groceries or something like that, it makes us feel good. So it's I think it's just even more reason why we should do all these good things, is because even if you're thinking of yourself, you're also making other people feel good. I don't know. I'm just trying to sort of throw that out there.
Well, and it's also part of the ripple effect. Yeah. It becomes very clear to those who've had near-death experience. Mm-hmm. Understand in a life review, you see your effects on other people, both positive and negative. Mm-hmm. So maybe how an unkind word not only affected the person you said that to, mm-hmm, but that person turned around and they got angry with their husband, and they went and kicked the dog. Yeah. So you see the ripple like 3 steps removed, but at the same time, maybe all you did was like I like to do when I go to the grocery store is just ask the checkout lady, how's your day?
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it busy? Give her a smile, greet,
Exactly.
be nice, or just anyone
Mm-hmm.
in the street.
Mm-hmm.
And, that person could have had a really, really bad day, but because you said something to them and
Exactly.
took the time to
Exactly.
ask them how their day was, that may have had the ripple effect also.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
they went home and they were kinder to their children, they were kinder to their pet.
Mm-hmm. They didn't kick the dog, thank God.
They didn't kick the dog.
No. That's all right. I'll let
So
you continue.
time, we're gonna move on to time
Mm-hmm.
is singular in metaphysical or 4D reality. It's there's no divisions. And on our DVD, all the like I said, all the information is there, the
Mm-hmm.
past, present, and future.
Mm-hmm.
Um, as the medium, person, metaphysical reality looks at the movie and views it,
Mm-hmm.
as they're viewing it from beginning to end or with somebody, they may be able to see how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
They because all the information is there, they may see the ending before they actually reach the end. It might be in the middle, it might be in the beginning. Now, to someone who's in physical reality, this may seem like precognition or predicting the future. But for someone in metaphysical reality, this is all the information was already there to begin with. It's just a matter of tuning into it and picking up on it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's, I think, very interesting.
Yeah. You know what's interesting as well is that with the DVD, and I mean, I don't know, I'm just sort of throwing a curveball here, but you know what's interesting with the DVD as opposed to, let's say, watching a film from just the beginning to the end, is that the DVD, everything's there at once, right? Because you can actually
Right.
technically jump timelines, right?
Mhm.
Because you said
You
you
can.
can be at the beginning, but then I can jump to the end, and it's all there at once. I don't know. Quantum jumping on your DVD player. Why not?
I think that's a fascinating analogy, Crystal, because
Yeah.
it is how we can jump timelines
Exactly.
from in the multiverse and live all our
Exactly.
lives at once. Yeah, it's like
Exactly. The multiverse.
take
That's
the
exactly
DVD and
it.
go from one chapter to another, then we go back to the past.
Exactly. But all the chapters are there, right? That's the thing.
They're out.
That's the
All
cool
the
thing.
chapters are there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. So our next one is space. Space does not prevent information exchange across, long distances. No intermediary device is needed, such as a phone or computer, to communicate with people in far off distances, whether it's across town and it's across the globe. And we can even communicate with people on other planets. And one of the examples of is Edgar Casey. Edgar Casey is a perfect example of a medium who was able to diagnose people and give remedies to people all over the world without ever leaving his couch in his office in Virginia Beach, which is now the Association of Research and Enlightenment. So he was able to do that. And one of the popular things that's coming out now is remote viewing. We now know the government's coming out with how they've been training people for years, Project Stargate and remote viewing. People are able to see, they're called psychic spies, and they can look into another person and another country's arsenal or base or whatever, or or wherever they hold their democratic meetings, and actually read files. And at the same time, they can view other planets. They're viewing, seeing things on other planets
Yeah.
or mountains on this planet. I think it was Mount Shasta. Remote viewers have seen military bases with both military people working alongside with aliens in some of
Okay.
these
Well, there
mountains.
you go. Yeah, I think Ingo Swann talked about how I think he was a part of that whole thing. Ingo Swann's
Mhm.
well known as a remote viewer. And he
Right.
talked about being on the moon. He said they gave him coordinates. It was on the moon, and he actually saw alien beings on the far side of the moon. And the thing that was really freaky is that when he walked, but whoops, when he came into whatever space he was in, they actually turned around and looked at him. So they were able to pick up on his being there, even though he wasn't there in person. So it also sort of shows that some of the beings that we're dealing with on the other side of the moon, or the beings, have a higher level of perception because they were able to sense his presence even though he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't physically there. So that's sort of saying a lot. So that's taking it the next step, as it were. So we have a lot to catch up on, but yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
And another example are people that channel aliens or beings from another dimension, whether they're aliens or spiritual beings. Uh, Daryl Anka
Yeah.
is famous for channeling Bashar, and there's Cesar, there's Sasha, the different beings. So they're able to communicate in the same way the aliens are able to communicate with us. A lot of times people have UFO experience, and the latest whistleblower, Jacob, I'm not gonna remember his last name, Jacob, that came out. But anyhow, it's not unusual to see UFO and have a communication. It's like you're getting a download of information, or you're getting a sense of peace, or you're getting a sense of whatever, where they're saying to you, drive down this road and then turn left and end up in this field, and we'll meet you there.
Yeah. But you know what's interesting? There's an example that we did last fall. We talked about the I did a co-presentation about the Phoenix Lights. And the Phoenix Lights, what was interesting in Phoenix, Arizona, was that a lot of people who had seen the big chevron shaped type of craft, a lot of people reported saying that they heard a voice inside their head saying, "Don't be afraid. We're just putting on a show for your government. And we are not threatening you." And so it's one thing to sort of have a one-to-one type of telepathy communication. Like you might have that communication with your mom or your dad, that kind of thing. But to have it at a wider level where a lot of people, thousands of people, are looking at this thing and having a connection, that's pretty big. I found that, I mean, the Phoenix Lights was very interesting, but that was the part of the Phoenix Lights that I found very interesting, is that people were able to get this message inside their heads. And it just shows that we're that much more connected than we really think. Because I don't know if they speak English, but somehow everybody was able to understand.
Like
Yeah.
Phoenix Lights, but I never heard that part of it.
Yeah,
So
there seemed to be that part where people were saying that they heard the message in their head. So that's pretty interesting.
So our next category of concepts is spiritual gifts or psychic abilities are normal for mediums, aliens, anyone in the metaphysical reality. It's a conscious part of their daily life. Much time can be spent developing or practicing intuition or mediumistic skills. You can take classes, you can take psychic development, read books, examples of famous mediums. We have John Edward, James Van Prague, and you may be familiar with Tyler Henry. And these are people that on a daily basis communicate with the spirit realm. And again, we have the people that I mentioned, Daryl Anka and Lisa Holt is another one. They're channel mediums that channel aliens. And then many aliens or non-human intelligence communicate primarily through telepathy. So once again, that's a part of their normal life. They might not even consider it a sixth sense or an extra sense. I think it's just part of who they are. So, and I do want to say a little bit about telepathy, because telepathy is what I call our first language. It's the language we use before we're incarnated, when we're on the other side. It's how we communicate. We use it all the time here when we're in the physical world, even if you may not do it consciously. We're always picking up on things, intuition. For example, you walk into a room and you just know somebody in that room is mad, So we're constantly using it, and especially I like to give the example of our pets. I mean, how many times have you had your cat or dog sit in front of you and just staring at you, and you
Yeah.
knew exactly what they wanted, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You know, so we all have that psychic connection
Hmm.
in that way. But telepathy is our first language. It's for is very natural to us. And many people, even if they don't think they have psychic ability, and when I ask, well, how many people pray?
Hmm.
Well, just about everybody prays.
Hmm.
Now, when you pray, it's natural for people to pray. But when you pray, what's happening? You're using your natural telepathic ability to communicate to someone in a higher or another realm.
Exactly.
And you don't question whether or not you might
Hmm.
question whether or not your prayers are heard or answered,
Yeah,
but we do it anyhow. If we
exactly.
thought it was nonsense, why would we pray? So
No.
I also like to say that telepathy,
Hmm.
learning how to communicate with your loved ones on the other side, or even with aliens, it's much easier than learning a foreign language such as French
Exactly.
or Spanish.
Exactly.
I've spent years studying Spanish and I'm still not fluent in it, but spirit communication, it's part of who we are as spiritual beings. It's a
Exactly.
very natural for us.
Yeah. But you know what, though, just to sort of add to that, though, I think that, just to sort of, dovetail on what you're saying is that I think that is definitely the issue is that we come into this world already having those gifts. And the problem is that in this 3D world, those types of gifts are shunned upon and they're basically weeded out. They're educated out. And so, you'll have things about because when they do tests on children, the children score very, very high when, under the age of 7, kids score very, very high when it comes to any kind of psychic ability. And as they get older, their results get lower and lower because that's when school starts. Around 5, 7 is when kids start to go to school, and that's when they start to lose their abilities. So I'm wondering, as we're changing the way because now kids are having a very different experience in school than let's say I had or maybe you had in school. Kids are beginning to not be seen as weirdos, but they're starting to, some parents, if parents are already progressive enough, are starting to encourage their children's abilities. I'm wondering what kind of world we would have and what kind of abilities we would have if we encourage our children to follow those gifts that they naturally have, that we all inherently have, like you said, and not to sort of push it to the side, as it were, you know?
I think that's already happening.
Yeah,
It has been for years. We've heard about indigo children, crystal
exactly.
children. And to
Exactly.
tell you the truth, I think a lot of it has to do with the hybridization program with the aliens. I think they're trying to upgrade us. They want us to be able to communicate with them telepathically.
Exactly.
And with each generation, it's more and more children are having these psychic abilities. So, and it's becoming more normal. It's uh, again more mainstream.
More mainstream, but it's less weirdo and more like
Yeah.
this is a part of it. So we have more schools that are a bit more sort of progressive as compared to, let's say, when you and I were at school, which was more sort of like a draconian, Victorian, ass whipping type of, approach to education. We having it's just very, very different now. I'd love to be a kid now. I'd love to be a kid now and have that kind of freedom. But you're right. It's definitely the hybridization program. But even so, we've already had it. It's just that we just ignored it. We just never. If you don't use a muscle, it'll atrophy, right?
It's like that. It's like that with any language.
Yeah.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Hey, you lose it. So there you
Yeah.
go.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if it's spirit communication
Exactly.
or Spanish.
Exactly. Yeah.
So one more thought on metaphysical reality and aliens, and I think I learned this from books by Dolores Cannon, who was a famous hypnotherapist that regressed a lot of contactees, is that aliens will describe themselves as metaphysical beings, and that they are they are more what do you say, non-physical than physical. I don't want to say spiritual because it is a different connotation here. Maybe more ethereal, a higher level vibration than they are physical. And that's why they can walk through walls and do the things that they can do.
Yeah,
All seem
exactly.
so applying these principal concepts to a mystical level of reality, 5D, where we're all kind of striving for and hoping to evolve to, is information comes directly from God or the source. And being at one with God, being one with the source and the universe, you can just tap into whatever information you need. And it's almost like this just brought to my mind, like tapping into the Akashic records.
Exactly.
Anything you need to know, the information is there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually done through contemplation and prayer. And a lot of mystics, or say the great saints, spend a lot of time in monastic communities, living separate from the rest of the world, to kind of focus their life on a life of living closer with the divine.
Yeah, somebody actually commented, I think Eternal Student said, I think the name you were looking for was Jacob Barber.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Jacob Barber.
Yeah,
He
thank
talked
you, Eternal
about
Student.
having a spiritual experience when he was transporting that egg-like UFO in his helicopter, and he also talked about the remote viewing program, which is popular, which I've been learning a lot about lately. It started with Stargate, I think back in the 70s, and then it was morphed to the GATE program, where they're taking children out of schools, and it was primarily military children, and wanting to basically train people as super soldiers or psychic spies. And it's been going on since, for probably more than 60 years. And they just changed the name. They never end these programs,
No.
even though they're ended, they just change the
Yeah,
names.
exactly. Yeah.
So,
Well, just like they said, they ended, Project Blue Book, and we don't look at UFOs anymore. Really?
yeah,
Really? No.
yeah. We got so many acronyms now.
Yeah.
So getting to individuality, how would you see yourself in relationship to others in mystical reality? There's just one consciousness. There's the great I am. And so this becomes from an intimate relationship with the divine that elevates and expands the consciousness to include the universe, include everything. And in this level of consciousness, there's no thought of, if you hurt somebody else, that you're not only hurting yourself, you're hurting everybody else, but you're also hurting God. And this is also the level of where you're at one, not only with all the other people, but the trees, all the animals, insects. And for this reason, the mystic, and I'll tell you, I'm part of this, I have this issue. I cannot kill an ant or a bug
Exactly.
in my house, because I know that ant or that bug, and lately it's been stink bugs, has a purpose in life.
Exactly.
And if I kill that bug, then it's going to affect everyone in the universe.
Exactly. No, but
It's
that's true
mind
though.
blowing.
Absolutely.
It can be hard to live with sometimes. It can be hard to live with somebody in that
Well, you
level.
know what though? I agree with you 1,000%, because and it's also it's also about understanding that we're coming from, like I keep saying, the Victorian very sort of idea that we are the top of this food chain, and that we should destroy animals and all that kind of stuff. I just do not. I cannot be a part of that. And even just the fact that you say, oh my God, spiders are gross. Why are spiders gross? It's because we're taught that. We have this inherent behavior that's learned in this society to say that spiders are gross. Cockroaches. I mean, cockroaches, you put it away, you throw it out. That's it. You don't have to kill it. And even mice,
Throw it outside.
throw it outside. That's it. I've had mice. Just take them, throw them outside. You have to have them in your house, but you don't have to kill them either. There's no need to kill these small little animals, which are a part of, it's a part, but it's because they also have the I am consciousness within themselves as well, right? So it makes no sense. No, don't kill cockroaches and ants and everybody. Don't do that, guys.
You get the dustpan
You
out
get the
and
dustpan, you get a big glass, you put the paper, and you just sort of catch them and throw them out.
yeah, if it's a
Simple as
bee
that.
or a hornet.
Yeah. Even when people say, sharks and all that kind of stuff, even sharks. I mean, I'm not going to jump in the water, but I don't believe in killing sharks or these horrible shows where they're killing crocodiles and alligators. I find
Oh
that just
yeah.
so disgusting. Ugh,
Yeah.
puts a
Okay.
bad taste in my mouth. Gross. Anyways.
So also in this individuality and this level of consciousness, this is what we call Christ consciousness in the state of awareness, because it describes a highly spiritual mind of Christ or Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And identity with religion is kind of lost. Identity with any religion, culture, language,
Mm-hmm.
political party, it's unimportant at this level.
Mm-hmm.
And you may have a preference and follow things, but when you understand that you're just the observer here, and this is what we call being in the world and not of it, then this is how life is for you
Mm-hmm.
in mystical level of reality. In time in 5D is eternal. Now, a lot of people think eternal means forever, but it actually means now.
Mm-hmm.
So the mystic is not worried about the past. He's not worried about the future. He's only concerned with the present moment. Now, in our little Harry Potter DVD movie, when the mystic watches the movie from the beginning to the middle of the end, he's not worried about the end, how it's going to end or what's going to happen next. He's just living in the present moment, enjoying that present moment.
Exactly.
Now, we can all relate to this because why do we go to movie theaters or watch a movie? We do this to kind of escape physical reality and immerse ourselves in a fantasy or a movie, whatever we're watching, and to be in that present moment. And that's kind of the same way. And that's why we do that. So we can enjoy the now by watching a movie, but we can also do it in any other situation, which we'll talk more about.
Okay.
But death is seen as an illusion at this point too, a mystical level reality. There's no doubt, worry, or fear. Worry comes from fear of the future. You don't have control of the future. And anxiety comes from being stuck in the past. So when you live in the now, you don't have to worry, you don't have anxiety. So it's some things that we can work on.
Exactly.
And Eckhart Tolle wrote a whole book called The Power of Now, which
Exactly.
I've read many times. I'm still rereading it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you can only be happy in the present moment. So it's a good spiritual practice to try and bring yourself to the present moment whenever you're challenged, you're going through a difficult time.
Yeah. I was recently looking at something with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he's talking about how people can manifest. And one of the things that he says is that when you're in the now, you're much more open to the universe, And when you're open to the universe, that's when you actually manifest. So if you're looking to actually bring something into your life and you're actually looking to change things in your life and to have something of much more positive, it's by bringing yourself out of the past and not focusing on the future, but it's the power of now, like you said, like Eckhart Tolle. That's when you can actually create things. So that's a note to self, people, stay in the now, because that's you can actually manifest what it is you're looking for. It's a little note there.
Thank you. Yeah, it's exactly correct. So let me see, where space all is one with the universe. Space is not an issue. You talked about that. Parts of the whole appear separated, but being one with the universe, it doesn't matter. And there's no divisions in ultimate reality. It's all one. And spiritual gifts, this is different in a side effect. Something I learned from my research is when you're at this level, at the mystical level, your spiritual gifts, your psychic ability is a side effect of being in close divine union with God and spending a lot of time in communion and prayer with God. So in this level, the mystics warn not to focus on your spiritual gifts. Don't get stuck focusing on mediumship, learning to talk, to your relatives on the other side, because people can get caught up in this. They can get caught up in the fame. They can get caught up in the fortune. They can get caught up in the ego comes into play. And when you spend so much time developing your gifts, that actually prevents you from spiritual growth and reaching the next level, a mystical level reality.
Okay.
So I thought that was interesting. They say the gifts are unimportant and it's just a distraction for spiritual growth.
Okay.
Psychic powers are really only used to further the kingdom of God. And we see a lot of that in the works of Jesus, that he used his spiritual powers to tell people about God. And this is just a side. I like this quote from Evelyn Underwood Hill, who was a writer, mystic, lived in the 1800s to 1941. Mystics deny the world in order that they may find reality. She acknowledges that reality goes far beyond the visible world. And that's why a lot of people like to keep to themselves in the mystical reality, don't get caught up in the worldly things and going along with the crowd and doing what everybody else is, because that can lower your vibration, to tell you the truth. So that's why mystics like to be very careful about the people they allow into their lives. Now, this slide concludes part one. There is a lot of information on this slide, and this just kind of sums up what we just talked about, the principal concepts. I'm not going to go over all of it, but you can look at it. The information is different, how we get information in the Muggle, medium, and the mystic states, whether we're using 5 senses or 6 senses. How we see ourselves in relationship to others differs. How time is different, and space, and our spiritual gifts. So that concludes part one.
Okay.
And what I was going to do is stop sharing. And if there are there questions?
Well, I'm sure that now, because we weren't sure where part one was going to finish, so I'll put that out there to our members. So this is the end of part one. So if you do have some questions, please put it in the chat, and we will bring it up. But I do have some interesting comments, though, because a lot of people are also saying the same thing. Saying, no, I can't hurt animals. I can't hurt, the mice or the cockroaches and all that kind of stuff. So it looks like we're all on the same page with that one. And also, I had an interesting comment though from Penny. I have Penny Coons here. She says here she actually sent me something about the telepathy tapes. And she was saying that I think that the telepathy tapes are going to make a huge difference as we listen to those artistic children that know how to use telepathy and will be our teachers to bring back telepathy. So that's sort of going back on the comment I was saying, that a lot of the kids growing up now have the opportunity to have parents that are much more open and much more willing to engage their children who have abilities and gifts, because we hear often about actually a lot of people who are today, mystics or mediums, and they talk about how their gifts were coming out, and their parents are like, don't say anything, don't tell anyone, or it's the devil, or all that kind of stuff. And a lot of people have had to unlearn a lot of negative experiences around their own abilities. So I think the next level of mystics and mediums that are going to be coming up, the young people coming up, they're going to have a much more accepting and open world that's going to allow them to be exactly who they are. So I'm really happy for those kids. And another comment here, Penny, you're the best. She's saying many people that have had near-death experiences say that they could feel and hear people praying for them. And so it seems that when you are on the other side, you're able to sort of see and hear things that are happening all around you. And similar to that example that you brought up of Edgar Casey. And Edgar Casey, what's interesting about him is that you're saying he was able to connect with the Akashic records, and the Akashic records are open to all of us. It's not a closed door, folks. Like, I mean, we're able to sort of have all access to it. And the only difference is that someone like Edgar Casey was much more just attuned, a bit more, at a fine tuning compared to the rest of us, and was able to connect with the Akashic records. But I think we're getting to a point where we're all going to be having that ability soon. I see here. So again, Penny, you're asking how did Mary get started in mystics and mediums? So I think we already covered that in the beginning. But did you want to sort of just indulge us a little bit more for those who came a bit later? How you got
Well, yeah,
involved?
because there's a lot bigger part of the story.
Sure.
Um, the reason I wrote my book, the original title was The Communion of Saints. Subtitle was Talking God and Grandma. I spent 10 years doing research and writing a book on the Communion of Saints. And the reason I did that is because after I had after-death visitation from my mother and then my own near-death experience, I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to handle it. So I went to the one person I thought would understand, living in a small town and born and raised Catholic. I went to, I told my priest about it. And when I did, I was told that I was dabbling with the devil and what I was doing
Oh.
was evil against the teachings of the
Oh
church.
no.
And I was eventually excommunicated from my hometown church that I
Oh.
was born and raised in. And so this was traumatizing, devastating to me. And I couldn't understand, if we can talk to God and the saints in heaven, then why can't we talk to grandma in heaven? And my mom was a devout Catholic. She came to visit me. It wasn't like I was doing a Ouija board trying to contact
No.
her. And so I found out that the communion of saints is a church doctrine that Catholics can use to communicate with loved ones on the other side. The book, The Communion of Saints, which was later republished under Talking to God and Grandma, is what I call my book on spirit communication. It's geared for people of the Catholic faith. You don't have to be Catholic to read it because there's step-by-step instructions on how to communicate with loved ones on the other side through guided meditations. But
I'd
for
like
those
to show
that
that.
can't,
I'd like to show that book cover again, just for people to get an idea. So if anybody's interested in the book,
well,
this
you
is.
want me to show it?
No, I have it right here. I just want to just show everybody so that they can see it. So it's just called "Talking to God and Grandma," and it's mystic mediums and the communicate and the communion of saints.
Communion of Saints,
Yeah.
yes.
So
So a
it.
lot of people, even people, even Catholics and their, I guess, other denominations like Episcopalians, if you've ever said the prayer, I believe in the communion of saints, if you ever said those words, which is part of the Apostles' Creed, we've all said them in the Catholic Church, but how many people actually thought about what it means? So I spent the next 10 years after that incident doing research and writing in what I believe is the most complete book on the communion of saints ever written, because it's not only describes about the communion of saints and the church doctrine, but also teaches you how to practice communion or communication with the saints. And many people think saints mean just the most holy people, the canonized saints, but actually it means anyone, any believer that's on the other side, anyone who believes in God or a higher being. You don't have to be any religion or anything. So we all belong to the communion of saints. So although spiritualism is against the Catholic Church, so it's just a matter of semantics. So if you say, I'm not practicing spiritualism, but I am practicing the communion of saints, same thing. So you're
Yeah.
just using, and the book was, that was important for me, that everything was written in accordance with the teachings of the Catholic Church. It was edited by 4 bishops, a deacon, and priests, and was published by a Catholic publishing company. But after a couple years, the publishing company did not use Amazon. And they did not use my original title, Talking God and Grandma. He
Mm-hmm.
said it was too esoteric. So I bought the rights back to my book and republished it 2 years ago under
Mm-hmm.
the original title, Talking to God and Grandma. Both versions are still available on
Mm-hmm.
Amazon, because some people of like the Catholic faith would probably prefer the title Communion of Saints.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I can show those later.
Yeah,
So
sure.
that's in the that answers the question as to
Mm-hmm.
why I really got into it. I
Mm-hmm.
had two spiritually transformative experiences
Mm-hmm.
within a year of each other. One was
Yeah.
my mom coming to visit me, and the other one was a near-death experience.
Okay. And when your mom came to visit you, what was she saying exactly? Was she saying something? And if you could also elaborate on your near death experience as well, I'd love to. I think we'd love to hear both if it's possible.
Well, probably not tonight, but
Okay.
the near-death experience is a whole nother presentation.
Oh, really? Okay.
I include that. I do another presentation on spirit communication,
Okay.
and I share the story of the after-death visit from my mom. It's also in my book, Breakfast with Bluebirds. Both books have my near-death experience written in detail. Um, and the experience with my mom, she just came to me in a dream state, and I was grieving her loss, and she
Mm-hmm.
came and was able to comfort me and hold me and console me and tell me that everything was going to be all right. Everything
Okay.
was going to be all right. So that was very shocking to me, because
Mm-hmm.
and she held me in her lap and she stroked my hair and she rocked me and
Oh.
saying everything was going to be all right. Well, in hindsight, I thought, I had tears streaming down my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I could hold her and touch her, and we were hugging and we were
Wow.
communicating. And then I woke up in my bed,
Mm-hmm.
still crying, still feeling the
Mm-hmm.
presence of my mother around me.
Wow.
And I had an epiphany. I realized I was
Mm-hmm.
sobbing, and I woke up my husband next to me. He's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, "It's mom. It's mom.
Mm-hmm.
She was here. She's just here." And then
Mm-hmm.
it's like, "Oh my God, mom is not dead."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I knew that she would always be a part of my life,
That's
although she was
beautiful.
no longer physically with
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, spiritually, psychically, we would
Mm-hmm.
always stay connected.
Yeah.
So it was a big turning point for me.
Yeah, and that's a very, very beautiful and touching story. And really, I realized because I also lost my mother a couple of years ago, and I realized that the bond between mother and child is eternal. It really is eternal. And I'm not going to get into it because I'll start crying now, and then I just don't want that. But it's really interesting how we really and so it really just sort of adds the concept that everything's here and now in the present, because it's not, even though you lost her a while back, it's not like you can't still talk to her. You spoke to her obviously after that whole situation took place. And so it really just shows that we're always going to be in contact. We're always going to be able to communicate. So
Mhm.
it really sort of shows the power of now again. Eckhart, you're getting a lot of pumped from this presentation. But
Yeah.
I have here, so let me see here. I have a couple of comments, though. I'll read those. I have here Mercurius, psychic attacks from alpha spirits on a frequency level who also love to argue with you is a concern. I don't know. Not sure what that was. But maybe, Mercurius, you can elaborate on what you're trying to tell us there. And we have another comment here from Ingrid. She says, please come back and share your NDE. And actually, Ingrid, we are going to have Mary Grace coming back to talk about the near death experience. And that'll be towards the end of June, if I'm not mistaken. I think, Mary, we spoke about that. So I think towards the end of June,
Talking about the commonalities between
the
near-death
experience.
experience and ET contact. So it will
Okay.
be ETs and NDEs we're going to be
NDEs.
talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's more towards the end of June. So I think we'll find that very, very interesting and very inspiring as well. And I have a question here from Penny. She says, "Does your book give guidance on communicating with our spirit guides?" Do you want to
Yes,
comment on
yes.
that,
Spirit
Mary?
guides or your family and friends on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, part three of the book is like a self-help guide. You can just go to part three,
Mm-hmm.
step-by-step instructions along with guided meditations on how to get signs and give signs from loved ones on the other side, and whether it's loved ones or your angels or guides. Yep, it's all in there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. Well, I
It's a good
definitely.
primer. It's like a, spirit
Mm-hmm.
communication 101.
Yeah. And I was really inspired by your story right now about how you had to buy the rights back from your book because the publisher didn't like the title because of grandma?
Yeah.
Really? Oh,
And
later for
then,
them.
yeah, and then didn't put it on Amazon, so it wasn't
Mm,
selling. So I was
okay.
able to, once I got the rights back, I self-published it on Amazon.
Good for you. Good for you. And like I mean, it's so hard for a lot of people now to publish stuff because yeah, the publisher is always trying to change the content of the book, and that's not right because like I mean, there's a certain message you want to get out, and you don't need to have it changed or polluted by someone who doesn't understand the concept. So, yeah, Ingrid is like, woo, yeah, she's coming back. No worries. Okay. So, I just wanted to ask a little question for myself, though. We're talking about connection, like you were, for example, talking with your mother after she'd passed. Sometimes people talk about having connection with their lost pets. Did you want to comment on that? Because I know that a lot of people talked about, like, I had a certain dog, or I had my soul dog, as it were, instead of a soulmate, a soul dog. And I really would like to be able to communicate with that soul dog. And I think there's a bit of confusion sometimes because people think, okay, animals don't have a consciousness, and they do. We just spoke about that briefly. But then at the same time, can you connect with your soul dog on the other side?
Sure. One of the biggest questions I ever get asked, most popular, is, do our pets go to heaven? Well, I have a very simple answer to that. Would you consider it heaven if your pets weren't there?
Exactly. There you go. Case closed. Case closed.
Case closed.
Case
But
closed.
yeah, it's not, communicating with your pets is the same way as communicating with loved ones on the other side. Through guided meditation and intention, prayer, and you can even get signs from them. And many people, I have a friend that he'll say, "Oh, this is my cat. This is my cat Smokey, and he's been with me for like 5 lifetimes. I mean, like he keeps coming back in different cats." So I
Oh,
think that's,
really?
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, they're sort of like the Dalai Lama. They keep coming back,
yeah.
in different bodies. But also, I think that there is also the concept that they have souls. And you know what's interesting? Some people, I remember hearing something once about someone saying, I don't know how else to describe it. She said that she had a lifetime as a whale. I just find that kind of
Okay.
interesting that we can, people can maybe jump from one different type of physical form to another. But maybe that's more of a different topic for the next time we talk about NDEs and all that. But
No, I think actually, when it comes to the most highly evolved spiritual beings, I think animals, like they say, dolphins and whales are the most
absolutely,
highly evolved.
absolutely,
And I think we're really low on the totem pole
yep,
when it comes to the animal world.
absolutely, absolutely,
It, we need to talk, we need to verbalize, and they mostly communicate telepathically.
exactly.
Um, and yeah, and they don't, wreck our planet the way we do. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
we're
that
kind
that
of,
yeah, no, if anybody knows me on this show, they know that I think that dolphins and whales are sacred animals. I am sorry. They are sacred. and
See,
they're absolutely, the Buddha consciousness. Like, I mean, the whales are something else. They're the whole other a level of existence. But that's my opinion. But that's what that is. But
yeah, no, I agree. I
yeah,
agree.
they're a whole other, and dolphins. That's a whole other planet. Whole
Well,
other
dolphins
planet.
are actually a type of whale. They're in the whale category.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? Like, I mean, the actual dolphin and the whales, like, it's just like they're just, it's just a whole other and it just shows the level of, we still have such a long way to go. The idea of whaling and hurting dolphins, I just, I don't know. I don't know what that is. I really don't know what
And
planet you have to be
dolphins
on from that one.
are healers. A lot of
Absolutely.
people you used to are you can take disabled children or just
Exactly.
anyone to go swim with dolphins,
Exactly.
and it's very healing and
Yeah.
helpful to them. So
Yeah.
yeah, this use dolphins for that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, and yeah, Penny says, a soul is a soul. They have souls. Animals have souls. You know, they're not to be treated the way we do. They actually have souls, and they're such beautiful, and they're pure. Anybody who says, we don't deserve dogs, especially, they're just such pure love. That's the purest form of love, as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
But anyways, so
Mhm.
I don't want to sort of get too caught up on that, but I basically wanted to just sort of say, okay, you know what, I think that and I also want to just sort of clarify for people who are just coming in now. Even though we're making a lot of references to saints and to different aspects of Christianity, this is not by any means about just Christianity or anything, because the act of prayer is just basically, like you were saying before, Mary, about how it's a telepathic communication between you and really source. We can have many different names for it, but it's really source, and it's also your higher self, and your higher self is a part of that whole thing. And
Mhm.
so it's really a communication of that. So I just wanted to just sort of clarify for people who are coming in now, it's not so much a religious
Well,
comments, you know.
the book that Talking to God and Grandma bridges science and religion,
Okay.
and where they meet is the paranormal. That's the common denominator.
Exactly.
But they call it the supernatural in religion. They call it the paranormal in science. So it bridges science and religion by integrating parapsychology with Christian theology,
Exactly.
ufology, and many other aspects of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I know sometimes people can get a bit triggered. I know we've had in
well,
the past people get triggered, and I just wanted to just sort of put that disclaimer out there that it's not a the Christian show. It's just about, this happens to, there are a lot of, different paths that intersect, and this is where we're at. So
did we want to move on to part two, or
yeah,
was there?
sure. Yeah, I just wanted to sort of just, if you're enjoying this, folks, if you're really enjoying it, and I know I am, I'm absolutely having a ball tonight with Mary Grace. This is such a beautiful topic that we're discussing. Please hit the like button and please subscribe. So that would really help us a lot. So without further ado, let's go on to part two. Take it away, Mary Grace.
Okay, so part two, who am I? And so where do you fit in here, and how does this information help you to understand who you are and who you're capable of as a spiritual being? This is life in physical reality. This is what we know very well. And these are some of the things that can keep us stuck into a lower vibration. For example, you're working and you're having computer problems, or you're learning, but you're studying for a test, and it's a grueling test. You're studying for your SATs or a PhD degree, and these are things that can be very difficult. Raising families, you're in Walmart and your 3-year-old is throwing a temper tantrum. This these are the things that kind of lower our vibrations and keep us stuck in this reality. And we're battling illness, be very sick. Pain is a common denominator. But one thing I do want to say about pain and suffering is, suffering is a choice. Pain is not a choice. You can be very sick and you can be very ill. But what suffering is not accepting your illness. is saying this should not be so. So when you're saying I can't accept this, this is not, I can't accept my cancer, this, then you can suffer. Then that's what's called suffering.
Okay.
And explained about this, trying to think of the book, Man's Search for Meaning. And he talks about that. So you can have pain and you can be sick and say, you know what, it is what it is. And I will keep myself in the present moment and be grateful for what having a roof over my head or having food to eat, and keep myself in the present moment and just dealing with the pain or the illness moment by moment by moment, and not ruminating on what I can't do or the future. So I just wanted to say a thing about that.
Okay.
And in physical reality, we play. This is one of the fun things. This is one of the reasons we come here. And all these things are reasons. These are opportunities for spiritual growth, when we're having struggles and challenges in life. But we come to play. As example of that, actually have a picture of one of my favorite football players, which is Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. And what's very strange is, even though, okay, so you could be a very spiritual teacher and be well on the spiritual path, but I love getting together with family and friends and rooting for our favorite team, Buffalo Bills.
Exactly.
And it's so funny because during the game, if the other team has the ball, I might be saying, get him, you know, take him down, tackle him,
Yeah.
sack the quarterback. And so I'm getting into it, but at the same time, I keep it in perspective. This is a game, this is a game, this is the game of life. Um, the Bills lost the playoffs game. They lost in the playoffs. I'm not even remember to who, but all our family and friends, the Bills Mafia game, we're all watching the game. And of course, we're disappointed. But there was one woman there who started screaming and swearing and crying because the Bills lost the football game. Now, this is an example of someone that gets so attached to their identity. They wrapped everything up in their identity or their group. So or their tribe, they're using that as their identity. And when something happens, they fall apart. They don't understand that you are much more than your favorite football team or your religion or your politics. You're much more than that. So try not to get caught up in, in the mob scene, in the crowd, or what everybody else is saying or doing. So keep a balance, enjoy your football games. You can have preferences and you can have talks and discussions, but just keep a balance, become the observer, and understand, to maintain a positive attitude and an attitude of gratitude. Because once it turns into mean, nasty,
Yeah.
mean and ugliness, then you're taking a lower level of
Yeah.
vibration.
No, no, for sure. And I mean, the thing is that I think that, like what you're saying, it's important to sort of be balanced as well. We can't all be the saints, and we can't all just, or be like you said, this woman who's, busy yelling and screaming and crying and all that kind of stuff. That makes no sense. And yeah, we all like our favorite team. We all like our favorite football player, whoever it is. But I mean, we're also human, and in this sort of just touch upon what you're saying is that there's also the human aspect. We're here to explore this, and we're here to be we're here to live human lives. We're here to enjoy being a part of being human, about eating food and having family and having friends and being in love and being sensual, sexual, all of that is a part of the human experience. And I think that that's also beautiful as well. And so I think sometimes we're also told in the society that you have to be perfect. And I think that's one of the big things that we're learning in this society, to sort of move away from that as well. And it's nothing to do with religion or anything. It's just to do with the fact that we're always told, well, you have to be perfect in this way, and you can't have any faults, and you can't be mean, and you can't be this. And look, we're all human. Sometimes we just sort of Like, this lady, okay, she took it too far, but like, I mean, it's just still a being a part of being human and who we are, and to just embrace that, warts and all, as it were. So as
Mhm.
long as we learn to be balanced, I think that that's what's really the most important part. And
Okay, let me go on to the next slide. We're
yeah.
only a couple slides off. So this is life in metaphysical reality. These are different ways we raise our vibration. And those of us that have been on the spiritual path for a while, these are practices, maybe daily practices, things that we try all the time. Uh, you know, doing yoga, prayer and meditation, things that raise our vibration, keep us connected to the divine. Whether you're taking a shamanic journey, talking with spirits, or maybe you're talking to ET or non-human intelligences, or doing a CE5 thing. And I had to throw Bigfoot in there because I love Bigfoot. I
Mm-hmm.
believe there's one living in my backyard.
Oh, really?
I have pictures, footprints I've seen many
Oh.
times that I've taken pictures of footprints. I do live on a 6,000 acre state forest, so there's a lot of room. And I do believe that Bigfoots are interdimensional beings or aliens.
Okay.
They're a lot of times associated with UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
And I do know three people,
Mm-hmm.
I personally know three people who have seen Bigfoot in a spaceship.
Oh.
The other name for him in a spaceship we would commonly refer to as Chewbacca.
Oh, of
Who would
course.
that come from? Chewbacca, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Um, I do believe, and I love watching the shows like Expedition Bigfoot, and I
Mm-hmm.
love it because I think Bigfoot's hiding behind the trees, or they're just going in and out of dimension, and neener,
Mm-hmm.
neener, neener, here I am. You're never gonna catch me. But I learn a lot from those shows. I tell you, I learn a lot, and I'm on the lookout. So these are, and then we'll go to our next slide, which is this is life in mystical reality. This is when we're communing with God. Many people have had divine visions. A lot of people say, "Well, I'm not a mystic," but I would challenge, especially people in this group that probably had mystical experiences, spiritually transformative experiences, a unitive experiences where all of a sudden you're aware that you're one with everything. Um, a Marian apparitions, because someone asked me this the other day, I didn't explain it. I have it on the slide. Is those are people who have seen vision of the Mother Mary or the
Mm-hmm.
Blessed Virgin. It's called a Marian apparition. So that is life in mystical reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I just put this slide up there because I like this. One of our great spiritual teachers taught us, "I solemnly assure you, the man who has faith in me will do the works I do, and greater far than these." Now, our great spiritual teachers came to teach us not how great they are,
Mm-hmm.
but how great we are.
Mm.
And they want us to know how great we are and how much more that we can do. And they are our role models. And that's why we have spiritual teachers and gurus to help us on the spiritual path,
Mm-hmm.
to remind us that we are divine children of the source or God. And and just one more thing I wanted to throw in here: bilocation. We all have the ability to bilocate. Uh, Many of you do this all the time. I I would challenge Barry, a lot of people. How many times have you been driving a car,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you're thinking about your vacation you're going to be on, and you're thinking about being on the beach and the ocean waves and the wind in your hair, and then you arrive at your destination and you don't even remember the drive. You
Mm-hmm.
don't remember driving the car because we call it daydreaming. Actually, you were bilocating,
Okay.
because a part of yourself, your spiritual self, was at that beach at the same time you were driving the car.
Mm-hmm.
So we do this all the time
Mm-hmm.
without even realizing it. So spiritual progression, as you can see, again, going back to our inverted pyramid slide, um, as we progress on our spiritual path, Naturally, there's an increased level of consciousness and often detachment from physical reality. Um, and our vibration is raised, our consciousness is raised, our awareness is higher. So that's what happens. In order to achieve these goals, we're constantly searching. We're searching for books to read and classes to take and things to do like yoga and constantly searching for the next spiritual guru, the next spiritual book. And the searching never ends because we never end. It just always continues to infinity and to our next lives.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when our spiritual progression is suddenly interrupted? You may think you're well on the spiritual path and doing really well, and I got, 1 million views on my YouTube channel, and then something happens, tragedy. You lose you lose a loved one. You're diagnosed with cancer. Your house burns down, whatever. You're in a hurricane. So you can plummet from a spiritual, from a high level of awareness and plummet right down to being a muggle again.
Mm-hmm.
You can get down in that space and you may even lose all your psychic abilities at the same time. And this is very not uncommon.
Okay.
At the same time, you could be, as was in the case of my life, where I hit bottom in life, alcoholic, drug addict, dying of 2 incurable illnesses. And then when I did die, had near-death experience, I was catapulted into a level of awareness that totally changed my life. Because when I came back from that little field trip, my consciousness expanded and I, was understanding that we were still all one. So those are things that can happen along the spiritual path. And this is the second to last slide. And so basically, we're on this spiritual roller coaster ride. We're always vacillating between, one level to the other, physical reality, metaphysical to mystical. But as we talk about the Great Awakening, the shift from 3D to 5D, we're going to be more and more of humanity is going to be shifting up into the metaphysical reality. And the people that are living now, and we all probably know people that are victim mentality, people that are stuck in criminal activity, they're angry all the time, and they won't take responsibility for their lives. Some people will just, they're going to cross over in that condition. And eventually those people are just, after generation, we're going to have more people in the metaphysical reality and the mystical level. And it's just going to kind of evolving, which I think it hasn't it certainly has over the last 20 to 50 years. I listen to a lot of spiritual podcasts and I like to keep my head in that space. Listen to a lot of podcasts too. And try and educate myself. I do not watch the news. I do not participate in mainstream media. I do not participate on Facebook. So, and just for a tip, if you do find me on Facebook, I have a page just so I can access other businesses and things.
Okay.
Don't take it personally. I will not be your friend if you ask me. But if you want to give me a call, I'd be happy to be your friend. Just go to my website and you can call me. But to me, some of those things in social media is too negative. So I like to protect the people I allow into my space and people with your group, the Starseed Coalition.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful to be able to have these Zoom groups, groups of people. So this is my conclusion. The paranormal is normal. We live in many realities, and spiritual progression equals expanded divine consciousness. And the spiritual path is never a straight one. It can be a very difficult one. And we all chose to come here to take it on. We're all courageous souls for doing so. And we're all here to help each other. And is there any? I'm happy to take questions.
Well,
I
I
think
wanted
stop sharing. I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah, sure. Well, I wanted to say that was incredible. This was really something, this was absolutely incredible. Thank you, Mary Grace. And I'm sorry if I blabbed too much. So I'm so sorry, but it was just that
No, not
you had so much going on there. And I think a lot of people are really, really, feeling a lot of what you're talking about. And I have some comments though from people I have here, and it seems that you struck a chord with the Sasquatch because that seems to be a very popular topic, and a lot of people take that very personally. And we have Penny who actually came on our show, I think back in January, early February, talking about the Sasquatch. It's a very beautiful topic that she was talking about. And she says here, yes, I love the Sasquatch people and especially the UFO and the Sasquatch. And I know that you were making a joke there about Chewbacca, but I just actually wanted to ask, could you just expand a little bit on the Sasquatch and the space connection there? Because I know I've heard about it, but I don't know enough about it. And I think a lot of people would like to know a little bit more. Would you like to comment on that?
wasn't actually joking about Chewbacca.
Okay.
And a lot of those shows like Star Wars and Star Trek was based on a lot of information that people had that working with the government that they said really like Star Wars was a documentary.
Yeah.
They had a lot of their technology. I know people that have been to we call the cantina.
Okay.
They've been to the cantina, and there's it's like an international place where you've got 50 different types of alien beings there. And one of them is the tall, what we call Chewbacca.
Okay.
That came from Star Wars, but it really is, I believe, just another species of being. And a friend of mine refers to Bigfoot as alien bodyguards.
Okay.
Because they're often in the woods where there might be a UFO, and there might be they're protecting the forest or protecting the people that are in spaceships that have landed nearby.
Okay. Yeah. And I have a comment here from Penny. She says here, Mary, I think you'd like to listen to Cryptids Canada. I think
I do.
Oh, you
I
do?
love Cryptids
Okay.
Canada. I love Cryptids.
Okay, there you go. So you and Penny are both there. So that's good. And I have another comment here from Ingrid who says, I've seen one, basically a Sasquatch, fade in and out. And also I recall being put in a glass cage with two different types of Sasquatch on a craft somewhere. So that's kind of interesting. Just out of curiosity, the Chewbacca type of being, they have like, because in the Star Wars movie they have their own planet and they have like they fly their own ships and all that. Is that pretty much what is the same thing?
Yeah, I believe, I think that the people that are making those movies have a lot of intel. And what a lot of people don't understand, I learned this a couple years ago, is the government has put billions of dollars into Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
To make aliens bad. They wanted movies that made aliens bad, like they're going to take over the earth.
Yeah.
And the reason they did this is because then the Defense Department could get more money. You put fear into people, and then the Defense Department could get more money.
Exactly.
But a lot of those people were really on the inside. Some of them were part of MJ-12. And I think it was, I'm trying to think who it was Spielberg or the one that directed Star Wars, that was actually
George
very
Lucas?
close with the inside people that knew what was going on in the UFO community. So they heard the stories, they made the movies. And I believe, the aliens are benevolent for the most part and are here to help us and make sure that we're not going to blow up ourselves or our planet.
Exactly.
So because they love us and they love our planet too.
Exactly. And I have a comment here from Mike T. He says, "Hi Mary, it's Superhero Mike."
Hi Mike. Thank you for coming. Mike.
And Mike's a friend of yours?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
From our IONS group, the Near Death Experiences group.
Okay. Okay, great. And I have here, let's see, we have any more comments or questions? Here I have Mike T say, Mary, can you talk about the power of kindness? Is there anything more powerful or important about the act of kindness?
No, I'm glad you brought that up, and thank you for sending me, Mike sent me a Wayne Dyer video. And I actually wanted to take a quote from that. And Wayne Dyer is one of my favorite spiritual teachers. I've read all his books. And, you know, and when I was talking about mystics, I forgot, I left out the part about the values and attributes of being a mystic. And one of the attributes is kindness, compassion, overall. And because we all may know people that are very gifted mediumistically, and there's been so many spiritual teachers out there, and then they ended up being not so kind.
Okay.
And, you know, or the people that are mean. I mean, we've even seen that in church leaders. I was thinking today, one of the people I thought of was John of God of Brazil. And he was a gifted healer, and millions of people went there. He did a lot of good for the world, but then he ended up in prison for abusing people. So the mystics, the first and foremost is virtue, is kindness and compassion, and that's just a natural side effect from knowing that we're all one. And Mike, superhero Mike, he has brought a great tenet to teach people about the simple act of saying hi to people in a grocery store or on the street, and he teaches people about the superhero within each of us. We all have a superhero, you know, within us, and whether that is compassion or kindness or helping others. And I want to share this quote from Wayne Dyer that I received from Mike today, because it perfectly describes our progression from the physical, metaphysical to mystical. And I didn't catch the name of the probably the spiritual guru who had said this, but it was through Wayne Dyer. He said, "Go out in the springtime and observe the blossoms on the fruit tree. The blossoms vanish as the fruit tree grows. So too will the lower self vanish as the divine grows within you." And I just love that. And that's who we are, as spiritual beings. And we're coming, by your fruits you shall be known. And we're all coming into our fruit right now. And our lower ego selves are dropping away. And yeah, so thank you so much for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the
And
other thing is forgiveness. Forgiveness is huge. It's a tool that God gave us when we came here, as we learned from the Course of Miracles. And again, that's a correction. It corrects the past. It corrects past injuries. So if somebody hurt you in the past, you know, one of the things that we come here to learn is forgiveness. Well, if you want to learn forgiveness, someone has to do something really crappy to you so you can forgive them. And so you make these deals with other family and friends before you incarnate. You know, I'll do something crappy to you so you can learn forgiveness. But you can't, if you don't get that, if you can't let go of the past and you're stuck in the past for something somebody wronged you, then, you know, there's people that cross over that are angry about something that somebody did to them. And they're just not getting to let go of the past, forgive. What's more important are the relationships, your family, your friends, and living in the now. You know, just let it go.
okay. And I actually did get a call. I think we have a call coming in from one of our members who would like to call in and ask a question. So wanted to know if you'd be willing to take a call from one of our members.
Sure.
Sure. So is this Ingrid?
It is.
Hi, Ingrid. Did you want to turn down the sound on your computer, and then you can ask a question so we don't get any feedback? There you go.
Yes, just did. How's that?
That's great.
So I am super curious about how um, your guest has been able to have a professional life amongst so many muggles, discussing the things that she has discussed, knowing the things that she knows, and has not been just professionally crucified. I don't know. I'm so amazed and so impressed, and I just would love some advice because, I mean, that this these topics
She's cutting
drive
in and out,
me.
so you'll have to translate for me, Crystal. You'll have to recap.
Okay,
I'm
go. You have
in
to.
every other word.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm just super curious.
Okay, so basically, she's wondering how people who are at I think what Ingrid is trying to say is that people who are at a spiritual level, how do they handle the some of the challenges that they face with Muggles? Am I getting that right, Ingrid?
Professionally, how is she
Professionally.
able to maintain professional um, life with these
Well,
topics?
again, what I would just, it's staying in a positive attitude of gratitude, staying positive in all things that happen, all challenges that come your way, and knowing that it's opportunity for spiritual growth. Um, and being grateful for everything that you do have, and being in your passion, staying in your passion, staying creative, doing what you do love, and doing and helping others. Helping others is the way to get out. If you're stuck in a bad situation and you're feeling down and you can't get out of it, you're grieving, you've had a terrible loss, something happened, is either pick up the phone and just call somebody, or go somewhere and just say hi to this grocery store clerk, and just get out and do something to help somebody else, because that is your way out, is just helping others. And the act of kindness, Mike talked about kindness, because kindness comes back, it always comes back tenfold. And that's why we're here, is to help each other and to know that we're not alone. We're not alone. We have each other. And also to put your trust and faith in God or higher source, or whatever that may be for you, and know that he or she has your back. And the best thing about having trust and faith in a higher power is that you don't have to know your purpose. You don't have to know how you're going to get through this situation, but you know that life is for you. It's not against you, and you're going to get through it one way or another. And we don't die. So we can't even lose our life, because we merely change forms. So when you do lose, most people are afraid because they are afraid to die. And once you lose that fear of death, then there's nothing else to fear. Once you understand that we are eternal beings, and that we do live, and we'll probably come back again and again, not to take this life too seriously, and to try and stay positive.
That's perfect. And one last comment from Mike T. He says, "I'm finding that way more people are open to all this, and that than I would have imagined, and they are grateful to get to talk about it. And I'm glad that people are having that opportunity to talk about it on this show and to speak with you on the show about it, because it's because of guests like you, Mary Grace, that this is all possible. And it's people like you that are spreading this beautiful news and spreading the ability for all of us to communicate. So I wanted to say thank you again for all that. And last but not least, and I have yet one more question. Since that we're on the Star Wars metaphors here, in Star Wars they talk about the Force and about how the Force connects all of us, and about how the Force, because obviously it's a life force, and that's how he's able to move the rock and float the ship and all that kind of stuff. Is there something that is along those lines, like the Force? Did you want to
Yeah,
comment on that?
exactly. I'm going to talk about this because it was the name came to me. George Lucas.
George Lucas, yeah.
George Lucas had a near-death experience.
What?
After he had a near-death experience, he wrote Star Wars.
Really? How many people know
So
that one? I did not know that one. I did not know that one at
the
all.
Force is another way of saying God. May God be with you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to me, when I experience the experience of the unconditional love of God
Mm-hmm.
is a force. It's a force, it's an energy. It's much like gravity. It's the force that connects everything in the universe, and it's the force of love, and it's what drives creation. Now, a lot of people think there's two sides to thinking of the force, because I had this friend that was a priest, and he gave this sermon saying, God is not a force. God is not an impersonal God. God knows every hair on your head, and he's very personal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, God is never an either or.
Mm-hmm.
He's all of it.
Okay.
And from my experience, yes, God is a force. I felt that force, and I felt that when I talk about my near-death experience,
Mm-hmm.
feeling that force, like my heart was gonna pound out of my chest after my NDE, because I could feel the presence of that force. God is a force, like gravity, and at the same time, He's a personal God. You don't get any more personal.
Mm-hmm.
You have that life review,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing more personal than that. That's the most intimate, divine relationship we all each have, and each have a different personal relationship with God.
Okay.
And to remember, in the end, it's never between you and another person.
Mm-hmm.
It's between you and God. That's the
Mm-hmm.
only thing that matters. So your relationship with God is good as long as your relationships with everybody else, your family and friends, are good.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, so that's, to me, in my experience, and that it's beautiful the way that he used George Lucas used the Force to bring spirituality into
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars, which is a very spiritual movie.
Yeah, very much so.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, very
So
much so.
may the Force be with you, and actually it's Star
The
Trek.
Star Trek. But you know, it's
May the Force
interesting.
be with you.
But it,
And it's just another way of saying may God be with you, or another is just saying may life be with you.
mm-hmm.
God's another, you can just say life, the word life, in place of that, or source, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever your higher
Mm-hmm.
power is to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a final comment here from Penny. She says, think of life as connection and not competition. I find that beautiful, you know?
It is beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I wanted to say, sorry, did you want to follow up with that or?
No, it was a previous question about um all the spiritual groups that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
In my world, I don't know what the shift is, how far along we are to the shift. I hear different things from different people.
Mm-hmm.
In my world, we're 90% there.
Yeah.
These are the people that I associate with. These are the podcasts I listen to.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch the news, you would think 90% of the people are stuck in the Muggle state,
Yeah.
and divisive and separate themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you choose a side, you're separating yourself from each other and from the source. So I
Exactly.
don't know what that is, but in my world, we create our own reality. And my
Mm-hmm.
reality, I see a beautiful future. And I think most of the people on the planet are kind. They are compassionate. You
Exactly.
can see that whenever there's a natural disaster, there's a forest
Exactly.
fire, there's a hurricane, how people come together to help.
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
think that's not what they want to show on the news, though.
No.
So you got to be careful of that.
Yeah. No, but you know, it's interesting because you said that you don't watch the news, you don't do the social media and all that, and you'd be surprised that a lot of people are on that same path. A lot of people don't. I mean, I haven't looked at Facebook in aeons. Like, I mean, I have a Facebook page for the group so that
Mhm.
people can, connect and all that. But like, I mean, I haven't looked at Facebook in a long time. A lot of people, and you know what's interesting? What a lot of people don't know, a lot of young people are starting to turn off the Facebook too. A lot of people are starting to turn off the Facebook. A lot of young people are starting to turn off the social media because they realize how negative it is. And people in droves are not watching the news at all. The
Yeah.
news is losing a lot of their viewership because people are like, no, it just, I'm not going to feed into all this negativity. So the news, the media don't want to show that because they're still stuck in this 3D matrix of having to make money and clicks and all that kind of stuff. And I understand that. You know what? That's what they have to do. And I you know what? That's what you're doing, that's fine. And I'm not judging. I'm just saying that that's a 3D thing. And I think a lot of people are moving away from that, like you're saying. And I think a large majority of people are definitely good. And a lot of people are starting to do more meditation and you see a lot of the videos now on YouTube about meditation and, you know, the new age, all that's coming up. So, and I agree with you 1,000%. I think we're pretty much almost there. I think we need just one little thing to sort of, you know, push us over the edge there, but I think we're almost there. And it's going to happen with people like you, Mary Grace. So I just want to say thank you so much for all
Thank
the
you for
work that
having
you
me.
do.
It's been it's a pleasure, a blessing. I just truly appreciate you having me, and I appreciate
Absolutely.
all the people that are watching and viewing and who have participated tonight,
Yeah.
because, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and everybody enjoyed it too. We had so many good comments in the chat, so people are really loving it. And I just want to say thank you again, Mary Grace. And just a reminder that Mary Grace will be back towards the end of June to do her presentation on the ET experience and near-death experience. So,
One more thing.
oh yeah,
I do
sure.
want to talk about my books.
Oh, of course. Oh my God, what am I going? Sorry, please go ahead.
I did a radio show last week, and I totally forgot to talk about my books.
Can I
So,
show the cover again, just for our viewers?
all right, so this is my original book, The Communion of Saints.
Okay.
Communion of Saints, Talking to God and Grandma.
Okay.
That was the original one, published in 2014.
Okay.
And then I updated it and retitled it to Talking to God and Grandma. So it's basically the same information, but it's updated.
Okay.
And book is in 3 parts. Part 1 is my story, why I wrote the book, about my NDE, after death visitation for my mom. Part 2 takes a deep dive as the educational part, and is what bridges science and religion, and by integrating parapsychology with Christian theology and spiritualism. And then part 3 is the self-help guide, step-by-step instructions on how to communicate with loved ones on the other side. So the book is very conducive to flipping through. I base them on the Idiot's Guides. I have a lot of Idiot's Guides to spirit communication. I love Idiot's Guide. So there's a lot of little informational things, and you can just skip to there's the summary at the end of each chapter, so you can skip around. And the book that just came out in September, Breakfast with Bluebirds, Inspirational Short Stories. These were my newsletter stories that I wrote over the years, and I sent it to people on my email list. And they're all true stories about my life, a lot of them paranormal. And one way I like to call this is a paranormal chicken soup for the soul.
Oh, that's nice. I love that.
The shout out to Jack Canfield. Not all the stories are paranormal, but there's stories about angels and miracles, and there's life lessons, but also through pets and bluebirds. I'm a big bluebird lover. I'm a bird lover. And there's a story in there about how I connect to God through feeding bluebirds and meditating with bluebirds. But there's many, many inspirational stories to help lift people up. And stories about, there's even a UFO story about aliens in there. And my own kind of dark night of the soul. So, and they're all like 3 to 4 pages long, except for the last story is a little longer. So inspirational short stories and in both books, I do share my near-death experience. And in both books, some of there's stories of after-death communication in there. So that's my spiel. My website, I didn't know if there was a link, but it's giftsofgraceministry.org.
Okay.
The books are available on Amazon and Kindle and paperback, and hopefully in Audible eventually.
Okay, cool. And can you give us your website again, just one last time? I'll put it in the link in the description below, but just tell us your website again, please.
Yes, it's www.giftsofgraceministry, and that's not plural, ministry singular, .org. giftsofgraceministry.org. And yeah, so I do many other spiritual classes and after-death communication, one on the communion of saints and science, religion, and the supernatural. So, and I also do on near-death experience. So I'm available, and if people are looking for guests for their podcast, I'm available for
Of
that,
course.
or to do workshops for your private group. If you want to get a group of friends together, we can do a Zoom meetup.
Absolutely. I would love to do. That's an excellent idea. So if anybody out there who wants to do a workshop, a private workshop with Mary Grace, please let me know and we'll get a group together. I think that's an excellent idea. I know that I would definitely be interested in doing something like that. So I know
Yeah, and
that,
there's information on the website about
yeah.
that.
Okay,
Yeah,
great. And if we find out, if we do get a group together, I will let everybody, the members, know, and I'll also put it on the Star Season Light Workers Collective at meetup.com, so everybody will be able to know about that, and I'll let people know ahead of time when it starts. So that's excellent.
and I
And
also do spiritual counseling for anyone who has a paranormal, supernatural, mystical, UFO experience and wants to understand it more. You have someone to talk to, and there to help.
oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Mary Grace. That is absolutely beautiful. And I have a last comment here from Mike T. He said, "I love breakfast with bluebirds." Okay, well, I want to just say thank you again, Mary Grace. This has been an absolutely inspirational and beautiful and really spiritual and just I'm just so filled with so much love right now for this presentation. I really loved it, and you're literally doing God's work, literally, and
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, you keep
and
up the great work, Crystal.
thank you. And I just really love it when we have such beautiful guests that come on the show, and it really affects everybody. And I think people really felt the love tonight. I know that I did. So I wanted to say thank you. And I want to say thank you again also to our audience for coming tonight and for being a part of this. Your participation really makes us grow. And it really allows us to bring in some beautiful guests such as Mary Grace to the show. And like I said, don't forget Mary Grace will be back here again around the end of June to talk about the ET experience and near death experience. So I hope to see you there again. And I'll be putting more of Mary Grace's contact information below. So check the comments below. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe, please. It really helps us. And all you have to do is just be a part of the channel, and you can get information about everything that we have coming up. So thank you again, everybody, for being a part of our show tonight. Thank you again, Mary Grace, for coming in and blessing us with your presence. And we look forward to seeing you in the next one. Okay. Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Love. Beautiful. Mwah, chef's kiss.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I really, really liked it.